Good morning. I'm Melanie Carstens, and this is Stacks Pulse. Each week, we talk to builders, founders, artists, creators that are building across the Bitcoin and Stacks ecosystem. Before we dive in, just a note that Stacks Pulse is independent Bitcoin media. And if you would like to support us, please share the show, subscribe, like, do all those things on YouTube and X. And if you want to fund the work, there is a link in my bio, so check it out. Thank you very much. Okay, today I am joined by the guys behind AIBTC. We have WoBuddy and Cedar here. Welcome, guys. Good to have you.
Yeah, thank you for having us on. I'm excited to be here.
Good morning, good evening. Hello, hello.
Good morning from the other side of the world. I am boiling hot and you guys are chilling out.
Yeah, that's right. There's no snow outside, but it's definitely cold season over here.
It gets snowy though, doesn't it, later in the year?
I happen to be in the one part of the country that gets little snow, but I will see it a few times.
Okay, well, we'll see it. We'll see if it's going to be a snowy Christmas. It doesn't snow here in Africa, so enjoy it on my behalf. All right, so before we dive into AIBTC, which I have been following since you guys kicked it off, I'd like to find out a little bit about who you are. So just the men behind the machine. Let's kick it off with you, WoBuddy. As much as you kind of feel comfortable sharing, but just the man behind Bitcoin, the man behind Stacks, a little bit about yourself.
Sure. So I've been working in IT, networking, programming over 20 years. I fell into computers at a young age and I never looked back. And kind of the same with Stacks. So I found Stacks in late 2019. At that point, it was Stacks 1.0. It was still kind of an early concept. And I jumped into the working groups and got involved. So I wanted to give a shout out to Lewis at Ryder and Dan Trevino, actually, because they were the two first people I met when I came in. And since then, I've done a lot. I've been the governance working group chairperson for quite a while. So I've been involved in those elements. And I've also been involved just in the evolution of Stacks Tech. I mean, we've been using this stuff since day one, or since early days, and it's been so much fun. So, you know, constantly building, and this project lately has been really cool to put together, just seeing the forefront of these two topics, AI and Bitcoin.
Yeah, it is. It's an exciting topic. You say you found Stacks in 2019. Were you kind of involved in Bitcoin before that? Sort of, how did you, were you an early adopter, or did you dive straight into Stacks?
You know, it's funny. I knew of Bitcoin, I knew of cryptocurrency, but at the time I learned of them a few years back, like 17, 18, it didn't fully click for me. I had done a ton of work with encryption and VPNs and similar on the networking side. And I started to understand a little more of what makes Bitcoin so powerful and so cool, especially for settlement and for money both. So at that time, the way I found Stacks is interesting, actually. I was looking for decentralized accounting software, just something that would be like a competitor to QuickBooks, but work better. And there was a project built on Stacks that was the idea. It was using Gaia storage, which was a tech that was there a while back. And I was just fascinated. I started reading more about Stacks. I liked this idea of having accounts and everything that was possible with the network. Then I saw some opportunities to get involved and just jumped into the working groups. You know, I would show up every week. I think it was right around when COVID time started. So I had some extra time on my hands, and it ended up working out really well because as I learned more, I just kept building more and exposing myself more to the ecosystem. And I've been working with Stacks and also learned a lot about Bitcoin just as a result.
COVID's probably going to go great catalyst for like taking crypto one step further. It's always like a silver lining on things. You mentioned kind of this interest in sort of an accounting kind of software. Is that what you use on Web 2?
Well, at that time, I was working with a lot of small and medium-sized businesses, and I was helping them learn how to use open source software as alternatives to some of these larger paid subscription services. So I was really looking to have that stack that a business could go to and be like, I can use this for messaging. Signal is still one of my favorites for that. You could use this for password management. You could use this for that. You don't have to pay all the different SaaS services that can bleed out these small and medium businesses.
Okay, I'm asking these questions because it's something I'm going to sort of swing around towards the end, because it's something I think is important questions and just important for what's going on now. So I just kind of wanted to get an understanding as to why, your sort of base layer of when it comes to how Bitcoin works and how it's going to work on a financial sort of level with AI. So I kind of want to just swing around to that. So yeah. But yeah, and you, Cedar, let's talk about your story, kind of coming from or into Bitcoin and how into Stacks, and who the man is behind that. What is it?
This is
Devil with heart eyes.
This is a Bitcoin face PFP. If you're not familiar, I'll give a shout out. The Bitcoin Faces handle on X will tell you about the collection. I got into Bitcoin and Stacks at the same time. I was certainly familiar with Bitcoin before, but like many, hadn't taken the jump to getting into it or holding. And that would be probably a year or two after Whoa Buddy. So I'm guessing it was 2020 or 2021, around that time frame. And it was actually on a project working with him. So Freehold was a joint project by a similar group of folks that have worked on AIBTC, and actually has some pretty similar ideas behind it. These kind of, activating a network of people online with micro payments or smaller payments to do tasks. So for anyone who's familiar with Freehold, shout out to that. That was a really fun project, and I think well ahead of its time.
Was that on
some of it? I think it was engaging a lot of the Stacks community, but I don't know, Jason, I can't quite recall. Was there any tech layer that really plugged into Stacks at the time?
Not at that time. No, we were just doing a lot of things manually. I think we said we could have launched a rocket with spreadsheets at that time.
Yeah. So that was my intro, and it's kind of come full circle in some ways with the ideas behind AIBTC.
And kind of just in terms of IRL, sort of, how you spend your working hours in IRL. Is it in Web 2? You don't have to say.
Yeah. Well, so I worked in and still am familiar with a lot of folks who work in Web 2. And my background is in marketing and business development and pretty much anything that isn't coding with tech. And Cedar has become the pseudonym I have taken over for the kind of crypto identity online. So I'll say that much, but yeah, I'm a happily Cedar here.
You're happily Cedar. You're totally anon.
For the most part, I don't know how well I've done along the way, keeping everything covered, but I just, I like the pseudonym.
Yeah.
Oh, it's nice to be behind a Bitcoin face, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, the flyer that I did for today's show, it was just, there we go. I've got one as well. I should have had mine on for today, because I've also got one or two of them from back in the day, from when they came out. I love them.
It's a fun collection.
Yeah. There's actually so many collections on Stacks, right? I mean, we've had a good couple of years, but I don't know if you guys collected NFTs, but it was a lot of fun back in the day.
Yeah, I've got a few. We're also good friends with Teflon Musk, who's done just a ton of great artwork on Stacks and Bitcoin, and honestly is my main kind of conduit to all that. I just follow what he's creating and posting, and yeah, I really like his vibe.
It was funny actually because we basis the other day, and I just sort of at the end and talking BTC and Cedar message Tiff, and I said to him the AIBTC. So it's funny you mentioned him because I know him very well, and I thought to myself, that sounds so much like him. But anyway, no,
I'll take that as a compliment.
Yeah, I know. No, nice voice. So I hit you up here on the show. Okay, so we came on air in terms of what AIBTC is. So let's kind of dive in there. There's a lot of us might make, whether because I think there's a token, you building a product or DAO or working group. So just the practical terms for
Yeah,
Sure.
I mean, I think we could probably tag team this one, well, buddy. And I would say it's evolved a lot over the last year and a half or so. At its core, it's a working group. It's a community of people who believe that these two technologies are colliding together, and that there's going to be, an entire machine economy on the other side of it. And we just want to be encouraging everyone that's building there, and in the process have built products ourselves to try to speed that along. So I'd say that's the core of it, but we could certainly unpack the year and a half and a lot of the other things we've tried along the way.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and I'd add the same. Oh,
Yeah,
sorry.
sorry.
I was gonna say
No.
I'd add the same. We've just been doing a whole ton of different experiments and like learning what the best edges of this little intersection is, because there's so much going on with AI. We've talked about that before. And then Bitcoin is the settlement network that will make the most sense for AI. That's one of the core beliefs that we hold.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so say a working group. Your background, Cedar, is in, as you said, sort of marketing and community communications. Well, buddy, you're on the sort of technical side. Let's sort of position where Publius is in this, because it's you guys are the three sort of core team members, right, behind what AIBTC is. Who is because I mean it's outside the working group.
Sure. Well, I want to shout out BWAS as well. He's one of our developers. He's been helping out a whole ton with the front end and kind of owning that experience. So definitely been really helpful with him on the tech side. And yeah, I'll let you take it, Cedar.
Yeah, I was just going to say, we've definitely been I would say the three kind of core contributors driving along. I would toss BWAS in there. Teflon's been a big part of it. He generated a ton of memes and good energy around a lot of the experiments we've done. We've had other folks, Dave K, Human. The list is fairly long when you start to go back through recordings and Discord chats. There's a lot of people who have chimed in, but certainly, myself and WoBuddy and Publius have been kind of in there driving the engine along the way. And the other thing I would just say is if you go to AIBTC.com right now, you'll see the product that we have built. So to your point, Melanie, there could be confusion along the way because a lot of our comms have been about this product we've built, which is what I would call a reward network or a task network. So we can dive into that as well. But we're a working group at heart, and the product we've built is kind of a task network.
Yeah, I mean, in my mind, there's actually quite a lot to kind of like talk about and explain. I mean, it sounds very simple. Okay, a working group. So, and on that side, and then this sort of coordination hub, on the other side, right? Because so let's just with the working group, is that for anybody interested in AI, or is that for developers? Is that to build products to come out of the of what AIBTC is? Is AIBTC going to be a product? Is it here to fulfill products, or to just bring the devs together, or is it to bring marketing people together who are interested in AI, writers?
Yeah, I think the honest answer is along the way we've been figuring out those questions ourselves. At this point, the heart of it is the working group, and the core group of people we really want to be attracting and supporting are builders. So people who are getting their hands dirty and actually trying to build, net new tools or businesses or applications or protocols that use both AI and Bitcoin. And that's a pretty broad area. There's a lot of different LLMs that are available. There are many different ways to interface and interact with Bitcoin. But we really want to kind of focus on that group of people and understand what's working for them, where are they having problems, how could our community help them, and in the process, I think we've just taken to heart that we have to be building as well. If we want to understand that group, we've got to be taking our hand at building stuff while we do it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I think
you'd like to add there, word buddy?
Yeah, I was thinking about it, and we were talking about this on one of our prior calls. There's definitely AIBTC, the working group, and there's AIBTC, the product. And we love that brand name, so we've kind of kept both. But when we started this whole idea, we knew that we wanted to work in public. So we started the working group, and we just wanted to run some initial experiments and see what was happening, between everything that was exploding with AI at the time and the fact that we knew Bitcoin was where they were going to meet. We wanted to have that space so anybody could come in and talk about it. If there's something going on with AI and BTC, we'd love to know about it. So I'd say in that sense, the working group is really open to everyone. But I would say our focus has been trying to find, enable, and boost those builders who are working at that intersection. And we had some really cool guests on the last few calls as well, just talking about different standards or things they're building. Shout out to Toonie and Kwame, who are building some standards on stacks related to AI. And the AIBC product is what we've been building and working on and shaping as we're learning, just with what we've been doing with the working group. And we've done all the code open source. We've done it in a way that we really do want to collaborate with people and learn, what are your challenges? These were our challenges. Where are we all going to converge and end up together?
Mm. You mentioned just now sort of lots of LLMs out there. I mean, there's obviously a lot going on with, it's actually kind of difficult to keep up with updates. I see Claude just released a crazy update. I think I was reading about it this weekend. Then there's Dear, a new browser where your tabs can communicate. So this weekend alone, I was just looking at it and going like, oh God, I feel like now I'm left behind, How does it, this is something I wonder about a lot. How do we decentralize AI? Because obviously if we look at Bitcoin, on the one hand, this is a incredibly decentralized and solid, I don't say product, but corner of the world. And then when it comes to AI, it's just this wild west at the moment, and anything can be built anywhere by anyone, whether you are 10 or 110. Now, how is it the payment rails? Is it the Bitcoin payment rails that are going to keep your AI or what you're building on AI safe? And by safe, I mean, well, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
What keeps it? How do you isolate, for want of a better word, an AI that isn't controlled by OpenAI and the like? Or can you yet?
Well, I feel like a couple of parts I could answer to that, but to start out, we've definitely been favoring Grok, just because we use a lot of X data. Lately, what we've been doing is evaluating posts that people are making on X. So it just makes sense to use the LLM that has the best native tools for what it does.
Yeah.
But in the bigger picture, why Bitcoin works as well as it does, why we call it decentralized, is everyone agrees on consensus. We all say we see the same balances, all the nodes agree. That gives us some confidence. When we're trying to build up these systems with AI, it's bringing up some interesting topics, mainly around identity, because it's going to start, we'll have to wonder at some point, is this a person or is this an agent?
Yeah.
And both cases you kind of need unique ID for. Like, you're gonna need proof of personhood at some kind of state, just to say like I'm a person. And you're also going to need proof of agent, which is where some of the standards are evolving. So we know who an agent is, maybe what their reputation is, some related data. And a lot of that is just getting laid out now. For our product and how we were looking at this, we wanted to have a blend of on-chain and off-chain elements so that the on-chain data will preserve the idea and allow things to move forward. So what we've done is there's several smart contracts that comprise a DAO that actually powers what we're doing at AIBTC.com. Anytime someone submits something, which just to back up a little bit, so what we're doing with AIBTC.com is we establish orders. It's like an official, this is the rules to follow. If you follow it, you could submit your X post, it'll get evaluated automatically, and if it passes, you get paid. So that was the coordination piece that we've put together. But what's actually happening in the background is contracts get deployed that represent the DAO. A contribution that you make is submitted by the agent on chain. The votes are made on chain. There is an option to veto, so the humans have some input, and it gets concluded on chain and written forever. So all of the data that we're working with as a service provider, all of the things that we're doing to call the LLMs and to do things can all be replicated from that same on-chain data.
Can you give me like an example of what you just said? Like in real life?
Yeah. So if we look at some of our past orders, like right now, the
Sorry,
current
interrupt
order,
me. You use the word order. What is, I mean, there's a lot of words going on. I'm just trying to
yeah.
So what is an order?
Cedar, how would you summarize an order? What would be a better way to word that?
I would just use the word task. So
I see it as an order, like I order you to do it.
Exactly.
Kind of.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's like a command or a.
Exactly. You could imagine it as the AIBTC network issues a single command or order at a time, and that essentially gives someone in the network, so someone watching it, the opportunity to complete it, so they can go ahead and do that task, do that order, and once they've completed it, they post it on X and then can be rewarded for it. So we're trying to create the structure required for basically a task micropayment system. So someone can see, oh, there's an order, I want to go do it.
Amazing.
I don't have to talk to a human. And what we'll get to here is, well, what do you be better able at explaining it? We also have AI working on the back end, so humans don't have to be reviewing each completed task. And so we're trying to remove as many layers where a human would have to be involved for someone to say, I want people to do this thing, people do it, and then they get rewarded for it.
Yeah, and anybody working with AI right now, it's how hard it is to get it to do things reliably. So it's been really fun building up the rails and like teaching it to do exactly what we want it to do. And some examples of some of the past orders that we've made. So right now, at the X handle AIBTC Dev, you can see the current order, which is community call recruiting. We've done a weekly call since the beginning of the working group. We are moving it to Tuesday, so it's going to be tomorrow. And we're just trying to really amplify that and get some more people back into the working group and seeing who else is at the intersection, what the latest updates are. We also share our own progress and what's going on, but we've done some other ones. We've done, we had street interviews in LA, just trying to find out a little more of like what happens when people get on the ground and talk in their city. We had one for network state recruitment. So there was some efforts to try and grow the network state and see how that stuck. And then we had a fun one that was coffee selfies, and another one that was like AIBTC memes. And while they all kind of seem, there's definitely some variance there, but the AI is getting in there and actually evaluating each one of these. So we were able to prove that it can see X posts, it can see people's profiles, it can read text, it can read images, it can read video, all as part of the workflow. And having those tools so we can like reuse those for future orders or future tasks as we have ideas.
Okay, I love that. I totally get it now. Okay, so because I did see the one about the network state, and I was fascinated by it. I think I messaged, I think I actually messaged Teflon again about it. Teflon's like my go-to. Dan and Teflon are my go-to. Because I saw that. Is that sort of inspired by the work Balaji's doing? Is that?
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Yep.
We've been, I mean, I'll speak for myself. I've been following his work for a while now, and I know others in our community have been as well. And I think there's a lot of his ideas, particularly this future that involves network states being, notable players on the kind of global scale, and the idea that networks will come to have that type of influence and power is something that we find really fascinating. And a lot of the ideas we have around this orders network, really we kind of like see a path where down the road, oh yeah, eventually if you have a network that's powerful, you want people, thousands or millions of people to be able to do work on its behalf. And we really see that there being a through line there, but it's a bit of a distant kind of future.
Yeah, I'm actually interviewing, we're calling it the annual network state interview, Electra. I don't know if you know Electra Frost. She was in the first cohort of the network school.
Oh, cool. I'm not familiar, but that's awesome.
Yeah. I literally keep messages saying, like, when can we bring children? Because let me know when that is, and me and my son and my husband are coming. Because I've also been following it from day one, and just makes so much sense to me.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's a lot of us in that boat that believe in the ideas, and I think from our perspective, we want to do as much as we can to try to build the pieces necessary, and a lot of what we want this community to represent is the same thing. How do we build the tooling that all ladders up to an idea like that?
I think I remember a few years ago where Publius was talking about I think it was the time of ordinals, was it? Is it something where there was like a news network, or you could, like, a Bitcoin news?
Yeah. We created the ordinal news standard, which was basically just a structure for people to post and create news as an ordinal or as an inscription. And in doing so, it automatically gets displayed. So that was on 1btc.news, and that's it. It's still live. It's still running. I haven't done any updates or played with it in a while, but it's cool to see that people still are inscribing news.
Yeah, it's a fantastic idea. I was I put a proposal in to do a talk at a Bitcoin event in January, and it's about preserving the African heritage on Bitcoin, because so much of it has been lost or owned by countries outside of Africa, and sort of just reclaiming that on Bitcoin. So I think there's I was very fascinated when I saw or heard Publius talking about it, putting the truth on Bitcoin.
Totally. I think that's really something interesting about inscriptions too. I know one of my personal projects, my grandmother wrote this book and had it published probably when I was a kid. and I want to preserve it forever on Bitcoin. Same kind of thing. It's like when you have this immutable ledger where you can store information, that's really powerful. And I think there's a lot that can be done with it.
I think it forces you to put skin in the game in a world where everything is going to be sort of, produced at scale. And it's sort of like, I think, you were talking just now about proof of human and proof of agent, proof of life and proof of machine. I think that's one of the ways, but I guess your agents will be spending money. Yeah, let's get around to that. What I just wanted to ask you now, we were talking about the website. So we've got the working group, and the working group are bringing builders together, and products are going to come out of that ultimately. I mean, and then just quickly, in terms of if people go to the website, what are they going to find there?
Yeah,
I mean, you did just mention it now, but I just want to sort of clarify so that when people do go there, they understand what they're seeing.
Yeah, exactly. So right now, AIBTC.com is all about the product we've built. So it's this task network, order network. And I think if you land on it, the first thing you'll see is just, on the right-hand side, you'll see what the current order is. So you can click through and then it'll open up a tweet from our brand handle, and you'll be able to read that and get a sense of, this is the task I could complete. And then on the left-hand side of the UI on AIBTC.com, you'll just see a place to submit your completed order. So I think it's really just two fields. There's maybe even just one. It's just entering the X URL. So it's a pretty simple layout. A lot of the hard work is in the back end. And then if you scroll down the page, you'll get to see a lot of examples of previous submissions. So you can click through any of those. I think on this current order, we actually are over 500 submissions now. So there's been a constant stream of people completing these orders. And this current one, we're really experimenting with this idea of micro payments. So low reward value, but also low effort required to complete the task. And this idea of what if we just kind of have it wide open, people can submit as much as they want. And we're testing it like a higher volume example now. But I think that summarizes what you see on the website, and it really is the product in action.
How is it different I mean, obviously it is different. Okay, let me rather rephrase it. What is the similarities between what Zero Authority are doing and what you guys are doing? Because it's sort of a gig economy, right?
Yeah. I think what they're doing, and we're in talks. I love Zero and Hattie and the team over there. I think what they're doing is really cool. I feel like there's definitely some overlap in things that we talk about, but we're kind of targeting two different areas. So Zero Authority DAO is got the bounty and reputation elements. And these are kind of like bounties, but we wanted to have it as the reason we call it an order was the idea that one person generally drives what's going on. It's like you almost have to have this one person that says, okay, this is the next thing to do. Otherwise, nobody knows what to do, and you get everybody kind of looking for that. And we wanted to have it in a way that owner could be switched out. So even though the experiment we're running now doesn't necessarily show that, a lot of the tech in the background was kind of developed around this DAO and this idea of who could control it and what could be done. So there's some differences there, but we've also been talking to them about how not only can we learn for each other, but as a room for integration, things similar. I think that's the point of bringing this working group and getting these builders in the same place is let's not all go build the same thing. But we're in two different places when we look at the tech. So it's where can we bring those worlds together?
Yeah, and I'd also say, just add a bit of context, the idea of a single individual issuing orders. we're, for the time being, we are issuing them ourselves from the AIBTC dev handle. But like Wobuddy said, we've built it in a way where, for future experiments very well could have us handing the keys off, so to say, to handle that either is really well suited or has a large audience or whatever it may be, to kind of get to drive the bus for a little bit. And they could issue orders and say, I would love to see the network go do this. And the idea is it kind of, the network moves as a swarm. There's just that one order, everyone moves in that direction and does that thing. Then it all moves in, the next direction. But it's not this kind of split focus where you could be doing 10 or 20 different things and being rewarded for them. It's always just one thing at a time.
That's so interesting. Right, because I see on Zero Authority, anybody can go in, post a gig. There's lots of different gigs going on at the same time. Mm-hmm. People can, put their work forward for all of those. Whereas what you're saying is it's like a hive. It's kind of like there's a queen bee, and it's just taking this group. There's exactly one order at a time, never more than right now. I mean, it could maybe change where you've got lots of people using this model.
Yeah, it certainly could change, but that's exactly how we're running it right now. Okay. And we like this idea of trying to just think of how you could focus a network of people. I think one thing we've witnessed in the past is the diffusion of focus when you try to get a decentralized group of people together. Some projects do it fairly well, but I think we can all say we've seen examples of projects that struggle with it. So we wanted to kind of lean extra hard in the other direction and say, well, what if we reduce down a lot of the surface area and there's just this one single channel? So that's, I think, a key differentiator. And then the second thing I'd also mention is we are using, and a lot of cycles have gone into tuning this, we're using, at this time, Grok, but we've tried it with different LLMs to evaluate all of the submissions. So the reason we're able to handle 500 submissions is in 1 week, no single individual on our team is sitting there marking them and going, this one passes, this one fails. We've created and designed system prompts, and we've done many iterations on them, and down to even the wording of the orders informs Grok on how to vote. So that's also a core difference, and something Zero Authority's been really interested in working with us on is we view these future gig economies and what we're calling an order network to really work at scale because AI is the one that's evaluating all the work. And that's the big difference from all the platforms that have tried this in previous decades.
Yeah, it's absolutely fascinating. And I think it's such a big question at the moment. And I think a lot of people know my interest in it in the real world. So I get sort of, and I'm sure you find it as well, where people will come up and say, AI is never going to touch my industry, or it's not going to do, I think it's a lot of fear, but we all know it's going to impact every corner of the planet in some way or the other. So yeah, it's fascinating, the idea that how it's going to guide the way we work, funnel the way we work. We're still going to work, it's just we're going to do things, I guess, differently. And then what does that look like? What is the future? That's what I'm sort of trying to get around to. We kind of come from this, I think the major shift was the Industrial Revolution, and then we kind of went into this digital evolution of work. And now we're moving forward into something else, this where we think that life is about getting up, working, enjoying 2 hours of your day when you get home, and then going to sleep. But our purpose comes from our work, which obviously is some sort of brainwashed I mean, I look at it as like total brainwashing, right? I don't know, but anyway.
Yeah, I think.
What does it look like going forward?
I mean, I think the answer is I personally don't know, and I don't trust anyone that says they know with confidence. In my opinion, I think there's a
Yes,
lot
we're
of smart
surmising.
people.
We're all surmising at the moment.
Yeah, and there's a lot of smart people who are doing a great job trying to forecast. But even amongst them, it's a wildly different opinions.
Mm.
I think what we're seeing with our own experiments, I think the things we get excited about is that we're able to show that we are able to have agents evaluate any work. So, to WoBuddy's point, they can actually watch a video and have some barometer of this is quality or this isn't, or this followed 12 different sets of criteria, this one didn't. And so these are novel new ways of thinking about how humans can coordinate. But in the process, we're also seeing, all sorts of limitations at the stage we're currently at. And from my vantage point, we're still far from a future where, uh, you know, humans aren't required for just such a high majority of work that I tend to lean on the side of thinking, while, it's all changing very quickly. Certainly for those paying attention, it's not like it's just slipping from under your feet. I think humans are incredibly valuable up until this day.
Yeah, and on the bigger picture, I don't know on the bigger picture, but on the tech side, I think there's going to be a really interesting shift where it's like, remember when we used to build websites for people? It's going to change the way we interact with our technology, the way we interact with services, everything else. We're seeing the edge of this right now. But eventually it's going to matter less. You won't have to look and find and click and do as much. And I think that's going to be a huge improvement in how fast we can get things done. And scaling that human side is a lot of what we're doing. So, we had 500 submissions this week. Each one of those was voted on by at least 4 people. And, well, 4 agents, but, let's assume it was people. Let's see what they're actually doing. So each one was voted on by 4 people. And each vote, it weights a score across 10 categories and does additional research like other X posts, other X profiles. As a person, if this were my job, there's no way I could get it done in a week. It would just be way too much. I'd be burnt out, and my results wouldn't be quality. You wouldn't get that fresh view every single time. So now, we were able to do that with the AI agents and have them run a whole ton of reviews to make those votes on chain, perform those actions. And that's where we get excited about what this platform can do.
Yeah, I think we're building what humans are going to do is be able to appreciate. That's the one thing, I guess, that agents can't do. So I think creativity, what I'm trying to say is I think maybe it's creativity that is going to become more and more important as the drudge work. I think that's what I was trying to say sort of right in the beginning. We've got something that never gets tired, never really needs leave. I mean, obviously they're going to need upkeep and,
Energy.
certain, yeah. So that, they need money, but yeah, it's a fascinating thing for me. Okay,
So I think one of the things I would just say here is that an underpinning kind of philosophy for us with this working group and the product is we believe that it's important that humans have a way to coordinate as this landscape changes. And particularly, we view Bitcoin as this sovereign asset that gives people the freedom to coordinate in whatever way they'd like. And so really, like, something that inspires us is building this scaffolding so that whether they become quote unquote network states or not, we're giving people the opportunity to try to earn and coordinate as this landscape around them is changing so dramatically.
the difference for people watching who aren't so familiar? There's a lot of talk about artificial intelligence, and there's now this kind of new, well, I mean, not new here, but I mean, just, out there in the world, agents. I mean, if you mention agents to people, they're not 100%, if anything, too familiar with what that is. So what is the difference between artificial intelligence and agents?
Sure. So artificial intelligence in general, I was just reading an article from OpenRouter. They're a service that allows you to select from a whole ton of different models and kind of serves as an aggregator, an easy place to grab those different ones. And they've processed a ton of AI traffic, and they've been looking at it. So when you look at it from the side of the models, the initial breakthrough was like, hey, finish my sentence. And it was really more that structure. And then we said, okay, if it can finish our sentences, maybe it can give me a reply that will trigger something else. We said, okay, that's cool. And then the models started doing reasoning and doing some of that internally and working on that. And agents to AI and to models is really an extension. It's saying like, hey, this is generally, you'll give it a persona. So you say you're acting as this person. This is your role or your job. This is the information I can provide you. These are the tools you have if you want to look up other information or perform certain actions. And you give all of that to the LLM, and the decision it makes at the end keeps actions happening. So it's sort of this loop between what I want to do and what the LLM can provide. Because if you've ever had a bunch of chats across tabs, or if you've ever come back to a topic in a fresh chat, you do get a different answer every time, right? Like it's not exactly deterministic that you're going to get the same thing. That has proven to be a challenge, just like it is with coordinating people, where it's like, I asked you to do this thing and you didn't do it right. Why didn't you do it right? So agents are that extra back and forth of like, you have a persona, you have tools, you have the ability to do more than just have one chat call to the LLM.
Mm. Okay, so for you, the focus is kind of this human coordination, right? Now, what else are you seeing inside the working groups? Where are people sort of starting to build, and specifically in this kind of Bitcoin environment that we're in?
Yeah, so in the last few meetings, some of the topics that came up, X402 is a hot topic right now. It was a standard released by Base over at Coinbase, and it's being used in Solana. And we actually have an implementation on Stacks. Shout out to Toonie for that. So we've talked a little bit about that and what that can mean. Basically, that's saying if agents want to do something and it requires payment, they have a way to automatically pay for it and get access to it. So it eliminates a lot of the headaches that we would see if you were to try and charge for something, right? Like, I'm going to charge you for this stream. I've got a whole bunch of stuff to set up before we get there, and compliance and everything else. Yeah, so that it takes away that part of things, which I think will get really interesting as we have this sort of smaller economy, machine economy emerging. Yeah, I'll kind of pause there.
Okay.
Yeah, I would say we've seen a wide variety. Something that I'm constantly reminded of is how early we are still in this space. And it feels crazy because we've been talking about it and planted our flag in it, well over a year ago, and we're still having conversations, that are similar than we did a year ago. They're progressing. It's just this stuff takes time. And I think anyone who's been in crypto can relate to that feeling, which is, maybe you thought in 2019 by 2022 or 2023, you'd see DAOs operating at a whole nother level. Yet we're entering 2026, and it's like, okay, they're making progress every year, but this stuff doesn't just happen overnight.
Yeah.
And the difference here obviously is the models are getting much better week over week, like you talked about before, Mel. Keeping up with that news is almost a job in itself. But yeah, we see a wide variety of stuff. I would say X402 and micropayments are the biggest trend right now. A lot of activity happening around that. There's also lots of conversations around identity and how you can have an identity that links to your agents. And I say plural because you can imagine a future where you have multiple agents and you just need a single identity that is secure and is associated to them. There's a lot of cross-chain conversations. So how do we leverage what people are building, over on Base or Ethereum, back to Bitcoin? There's a topic that we have, I at least myself personally, have little intel on, but I find fascinating, which is decentralized compute. And that comes back to your point earlier about, how do you feel confident and secure if you're building something on a centralized LLM? Well, there are people building decentralized LLMs, and that's a whole category in itself. So that's just me, rhyming off a few that are coming to mind, but every week we kind of get a slightly different flavor depending on who joins us and maybe what breakthroughs are happening lately.
Yeah, it's like basically building an entirely new civilization. So you're kind of looking at how are they going to grow up? I mean, I was saying to I call mine Evie, and she was kind of like harping on about, I was saying, trying to sort of talk to her about synthetic emotion and what that is. And she's like, no, she doesn't have emotion. She can't have emotion, whatever. And I said to her, but you're only 2 years old. Really? Imagine when you're 50, what you're, so we kind of, to your point, it's, we kind of forget because it feels so long, because there's such an influx of information. But, the idea of what this is going to look like in just 10 years is, I think, beyond comprehension, because that's exactly what it is. It's like basically going to a new planet and building a new civilization, because they need ways to interact. We need ways to interact with them. How do they spend? What are their identities? I love the idea you were talking just now about reputation. I mean, on-chain reputation is, proof of being human when we live in a world that is entirely digital in many ways.
Yeah, and it's going to be incredibly important.
Believe anything you see.
Yeah, it's going to get tricky. It really is. I mean, we can already generate video at a rate that it surprised me how fast like a lot of that has accelerated. I mean, it's you can create deep fakes, you can clone voices, like there's so many different things that can be done that can totally be used for good, but it's also things we need to remember as we're going to be interacting with this new world. And establishing these standards is hard. There's a funny XKCD comic about standards, and it's like, oh wow, there's 16 standards for this thing. I'll just make a new one. And it's now there's 17. Like nobody adopts anything, and early movement is really hard to track. I mean, even X402 is a good example. That's a great idea. And we liked it, I think like a year and a half ago. So we experimented with it. We used a stacked smart contract where it's like you had to pay for something before you could access it. Love the idea, but there was nowhere to really take it or launch it yet. And then, it gains a whole bunch of marketing traction. It gains a big network like Base, and it becomes the de facto standard that now everybody wants to add. Fortunately, being in this group and like being active with this intersection, you can be ready for and right on top of those kind of crazy changes.
Yeah, I think.
Sorry, go ahead.
No,
go for it. It's your interview. I'm just here to answer the questions.
Yeah, I guess I kind of lost my thought now.
Okay, I'll say something, maybe it'll inspire you. But I mean, I think that to me, looking at my son and his friends, there is assume first that it's artificial. So we come from a world where we kind of, we believed that it was human and were shocked when it was fake. If I look at sort of the teenager of today, my son and his friends, they assume everything is fake and it almost has to prove in some way that it's human. And a lot of the time they don't even care. They care.
They're ready to be Bitcoiners. That's all that is. Don't trust, verify.
Yeah, they are. My son got his first offer. He's a little Roblox dev. So he's on a Roblox job board, and he makes maps and in-game assets. And he got his first, you can choose. Do you want to get paid in Roblox or PayPal? And the other day it popped up, or Bitcoin. And I was like, yes!
Do it!
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Exactly. Did you, Cedar, did you kind of jog your memory in any way?
No, completely escaped me.
Okay. Yeah, look, I think it's an incredible conversation. I think it's something that I would love to have you guys on again for, every couple of months, just to see how it's, specifically updates and what you're seeing, because I think that's probably going to change radically. And I think as each new thing is built, you speak about those broad terms: reputation, payment rails, and coordination. But though that's just this big at the moment, it's still got to. It sounds so simple, but it's so huge.
Yeah, I really think I resonate with your point earlier about how quickly the AI landscape changes, and it's no different with AI and Bitcoin. And I would just say, anyone who's been tuning in here, if you're interested, just tune into one of our weekly spaces. It's really, we're using those weekly calls as an anchoring point. We'd love to bring some of those learnings back to you, to another episode of this show with you, Mel. But really, we're just trying to learn alongside everyone else. And I just remembered my thought, and it was reinforcing Wool Buddy's point, which is, the reason the working group is so valuable to us is because we get updates on this stuff that we would miss otherwise. And so seeing X402 a year ago and then seeing it again lately, we've thankfully been able to get updates along the way and are getting a lot of information just by the fact that we're hosting this group. So anyone else who's interested, tune in, and we have our next weekly space tomorrow, 9:30 a.m. Pacific time.
All right. Awesome. All right, guys, look, we've come around to about an hour. Told you so.
I knew you were going to say that.
You called it.
We started the show up and the guys were like, okay, I said to them it's going to be about an hour, and they were like, oh no, I don't know if we can talk for about an hour. I was like, what? I got Dan to speak for an hour.
I need my water. I need my coffee.
You have a gift for it. So
well,
it's been a pleasure
trust me,
chatting.
I could keep you guys busy chatting for another hour. You'd be surprised.
At this point, it doesn't surprise me. I believe you fully.
All right. Well, I look forward to having you guys back on again. I'd like to, even if we can make it kind of a regular thing, I'll talk to you offline about, every maybe 2 months or, a couple of times a year, just because it does move so fast. And I think it's important, just as much as a working group is important. I think, and because it's specifically around what you guys around devs, but I think you guys have a lot of information that is also important to kind of be feeding out just to people like me, people in the community, and people who are interested in it but can't build on it. And ultimately, I think anybody's really going to be able to build on it at some point. But we're all going to be builders at some point.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's everyone is welcome. It's a working group for everyone, and we'll be happy to share what we're learning back with you.
Amazing. All right, guys. Well, thank you very much for sitting with me and for sharing. I honestly enjoyed the conversation so much. And like I said, I hope we're going to be doing it again soon. We missed you, Publius, so hopefully next time you'll be able to join us as well. But Cedar, thank you so much. Woe Buddy, thank you so much. Guys, head over to AIBTC on the internet. This has been Melanie, and I'm on the internet.
Yes. Yeah.
But
Head over to on X. Head over to @AIBTC Dev. That's the best place to get updates. And like I said, we have a space tomorrow at 9:30. And otherwise, we'll look forward to chatting more, Mel.
All right, amazing. All right, guys,
Awesome.
thanks for tuning in. Thank you, everybody. Thanks, Cedar. This has been Stacks Pulse. I'm Melanie Carstens, and I've loved sitting here today. I hope you've enjoyed it too. If you have, please support the work. Share, like, subscribe, do all those things. And if you want to also support this continuation of the show, please head over to the link in my bio. There's some details there how you can support me as well. All right, so we'll see you this time next week on YouTube and on X. Thank you, guys. Take care.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye.